Hey guys, welcome to another call review. Today we are reviewing a call from a senior BDR. They call CEOs, VP of sales, directors of sales development. They sell prospecting services. So this makes sense. And this person felt like they could improve really on the pitch, but we're going to obviously review the whole call to see what we can do here. So let's get to it.
Good. How are you doing? This is Madeline.
Hey, Madeline. How's your Thursday going?
Good. How are you doing?
Okay, so already you can tell, how are you doing? This person's not super stoked for a cold call. Not his fault. I like the energy there. Obviously, how's your Thursday going is kind of what most people would use as an opener. So she picks it up right away, but she's also a director for BDRs. So she knows how these things go.
I'm doing pretty good. I have you down as a BDR manager. Are your BDRs doing a lot of cold calls?
They are.
Don't necessarily know how I feel about that. Feels kind of like a wasted question. Like, are your BDRs doing any cold calls? Duh, of course. She's like, they are. It's not always that BDRs are doing cold calls, so I get that. What he could do to make it more relevant and lower her guard, since she's already a little bit raised, he could be like, hey, Madeline, just to make sure that I'm even relevant here, like, do your BDRs cold call to get their meetings, or are they just sticking to email and LinkedIn like everybody else? And she might be like, oh, no, we do cold calls, right? Prop her up a little bit, make her feel good.
Yeah.
I like it. Same here. Do you ever hear any problems with the team today where it's like they feel like connect rates are really low, or their numbers are coming up as spam, or maybe it's more along like you're seeing like conversions or just not turning combos into meetings? Any of that coming up for you guys?
Not honestly, not necessarily, because funny enough, we're having a lot of phone success. We do both Mexico and the U.S., so we're seeing a lot of phone success in Mexico for sure. I think they're not as like inundated with spam calls, honestly, than we are in the U.S. They have a lot more laws protecting them. I'll be honest, the only reason I answered your call is because we're dealing with some crazy stuff at work right now, and I assumed it was my CEO trying to call me to get confirmation on something. But that being said, I've never looked at, what is your pricing model?
Okay, so a couple of things there. First of all, do your BDRs ever struggle with low connect rates, or do they ever struggle with spam blockers, things like that? The way that he should be setting this up is not a close-ended question. So that was a yes or no. She said no, which is fine. Again, we can't control what she says, but a better way he could have said this would have been something like, hey, most of the BDR directors that I talk to, typically, most of the time, their meetings are not necessarily where they need to be and they're struggling to hit quota. Usually that's a byproduct of spam blockers coming up, connect rates being low. But at the end of the day, they just don't really have the insights to even coach their team to put more meetings on the calendar, overcome objections. Like, how are you actually managing the team or coaching the team to make sure that they can get meetings on the board so that you can stop worrying about things in your meetings? Something like that. Teeing it up with context is going to get it better. She's going to have to defend herself to a problem that he knows that every other person faces when it comes to dialing. This is what the prospecting services actually help with. And then she goes on to say something about Mexico and US, which isn't necessarily relevant, but she comes back with, what's your pricing model? Basically telling him inadvertently that she is interested. This is great. We got to a good point. He caught her at a good time, but she's giving him brush offs and wants to get to the point because she's busy, right? Her CEO was supposed to call her. So how can we backtrack and get around the pricing model to make sure that we can get back to the problems and make sure that we solve a problem first before we pitch pricing at all?
Yeah, so we're a per seat model,
Okay.
yearly contracts.
Okay,
so he left it at, we're a per seat model, yearly contract. Now she is in control of the conversation, which means that he's not going to be able to control the outcome. At this point, he's doing the prospect a disservice, thinking that she knows what she's doing. The reality is, this person knows exactly what to do every single day because he sells the product. So why would he let the prospect lead the conversation knowing that it's going to lead down a direction of pricing when he doesn't even know what he can do for her, if it's even going to make sense, what the seats look like, how many people on her team. So I would have backtracked it too. Instead of being like, we're per seat model, we're an annual contract, I would have backtracked and be like, yeah, and just to, before we even get there, because it sounds like you're not dealing with any of the things that we actually solve in the first place. You mentioned that your connect rates are high and your spam rates are pretty low. That's pretty atypical from what I hear, to be honest, just being in the industry for as long as I have been. But the other half of this that people ignore is that even though their connect rates are high, we still solve XYZ problem. So for prospecting services, me knowing what this could be, most of the time, BDR managers are looking to hit daily KPIs and they're tracking all the numbers, but they're not actually focusing on the part that matters, which is the skills of the SDRs. Because I'd imagine, right, you have your top SDRs and your bottom SDRs, right? Of course we do. What's the difference? Well, this person's really good on the phones. This person's good at strategy. This person's this, right? Why isn't everybody there? And then now you're getting into the gap of where she knows she's missing. Why isn't everybody there? Well, some people don't cold call as much. Some people just aren't that good on the phone. Some people don't try that hard. Okay. So like, this is how we help. And then you would tee up a pitch from here. But let's see where else this goes.
What are we looking at seat-wise, cost-wise?
So list price,
Still controlling the conversation around price.
without any discounts or anything, you'd be looking at $3,600 for the year for one seat.
Per seat, okay.
Pitch price. Shouldn't have done that. That's for the AE.
Sorry, I'm sitting outside. We just implemented, if you're familiar with them, to start giving feedback and things like that. So I'm not sure we're necessarily right now in buying cycle just because we just spent a lot of money.
First of all, that's fine. We don't expect any of these people to make decisions 6 to 8 months from now. But if the buying cycle is close, or we can get them out of the contract, or we can get them to realize that they just spent a bunch of money and it actually didn't help them at all, or it's not what they thought it was, then we can get them out of that contract. Obviously, that's a long shot, but we want to do what we can on the cold call because we can. The other thing she said, yeah, we actually just implemented something to get feedback. You see how earlier we could have gotten that in the very first question instead of saying, do your BDRs cold call? Are you getting low connect rates or low spam rates? You could have asked the question that you know every single BDR manager faces regardless, and the hardest one to solve, which is getting good feedback on the phones. That could have been the answer from the first question. She wouldn't have given the brush off about the CEO. She wouldn't have given the brush off about the price. She's answering a question that you want that is going to help you surface the problem that you solve for this person so you can actually land the pitch, land the plane with leverage. So that's why we would do these things.
Not a monthly contract, but have you take a look at what you guys offer and see if it makes sense for further conversations.
Yeah, totally fine. Can definitely give you a rundown on company. Maybe you could take over in the future. Like we can always chat later down the road. But
yeah, I don't think you guys shouldn't overlap. It's more of a referral. Like it gives insights to calls.
Oh, you guys shouldn't overlap. You see how she knows what the problem actually is, but she didn't want to admit it because it's a cold call, because her guard was up, because she wasn't expecting his call. If we had lowered the guard earlier, add more context to the questions, gotten punchier problem-based questions or hypothesis-driven engagement questions to get this out of her earlier, she wouldn't be giving these brush-offs. She just said it doesn't overlap. So even though again, you could say the sky is blue, prospects are going to tell you the sky is green. Everybody's going to disagree with you all the time because we know that our prospects aren't necessarily the brightest. Just kidding.
It's not necessarily cold calling. It's more about feedback internally and reporting internally. But
you see how it has nothing to do with cold calling? So, hey, typically when the BDRs cold call, XYZ happens and XYZ is the negative outcome. How are you handling that?
Happy to take a look at what you guys offer. Just might not be like right this second that we would jump on it. To be transparent with you.
Yeah, that totally works. I can give you a quick harbor tour, and then we can talk timelines later or whenever it needs to happen, if at all. Do you have some time?
I like that it's neutral. I like it's like, hey, if we can do this, I'm happy to show you what's going around if it makes sense for you. That being said, a quick harbor tour, you could find that online. You can find it on a YouTube video. What's the point of that in the meeting? Hey, that actually sounds great. Most of the time, people don't even understand the real problems that they're actually facing until they have the conversation with us. What I would love to do for you, if it's okay with you, is I'm not even sure we can help yet. So before we get into pricing, we can definitely do that. But what typically happens is we go through your process, we understand what your BDRs are doing well and not well on the phones, and we typically surface problems like you had mentioned that don't even overlap with your existing tech stack, which can even move the timelines up. Because when you mention budget and you're not in your buying cycle, how was that actually determined? Oh, well, it was determined because our CEO says so, because we do this every quarter, because we just bought tools. Well, now you have extra context to push up the urgency.
Is tomorrow too soon? I can also do next week. I don't know if you have your calendar handy.
Yeah, let's look at next week. I have availability.
Punch your way to do this. Again, not bad. Hey, by the way, I don't know if you have your calendar handy, but I have tomorrow and Thursday open at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Where are you based out of? Oh, Cincinnati, whatever it is. Oh, fantastic. I'm going to throw you this calendar invite for them. I can go into the mutual agreement and the next steps from here.
Answering, and you just had really, really damn good timing of that.
Really good timing, I guess, Deb.
But yeah, just getting answers we just can't get people to answer the phone, and it's almost like,
oh, we can't get people to answer the phone. Look at that. Sky is blue or the sky is green. Which one is it? I would have called that out right there.
If we do, I think they immediately have a wall up, and they know you're trying to sell them something.
Wow, is it really the skills of the BDR? I wonder if we asked that in the very first question, what would have happened differently?
Stupid.
Yeah.
But just trying to get past that, but we can't even get phones to be answered. So, just getting phones answered would be helpful even.
Is that partially why you had to go after Mexico instead of the U.S.? Would you rather work with U.S. clients if you could?
Have you guys ever, do you ever check to see if a number is coming up as spam or
yeah, we rotate them. Yeah, we rotate them based on where they're calling. So, our girl who's in California, she has a lot of California outreach. So, she has a California number. She changes it up every once in a while. So we're pretty good about that. We use Ample Market as our dialer, and Competitive. It's pretty good at flagging things.
Okay, that could have been another thing. She talked about a tool that wasn't even relevant to the dialing solution that he sells. So you could have brought that up as the competitor if you know that everybody always has a dialer. Hey, most of the time people have a dialer in place that kind of just fires out dials once in a while, doesn't necessarily give them the proper insights to actually increase the skills of their team. So even when they do get the connect rates, they don't actually book. Does that sound familiar? Something like that.
It's just more so of getting those pickups from the get-go is our problem.
But it's not really a pickup. We know that because she just said that the connect rates were actually really high and they've been calling Mexico. So it's a problem in the US. The problem is the skills. I would have just called that out right there. I mean, sometimes you need to put managers in their place. Sometimes you need to lead. You are the expert. You are the authority. If you know they're being wishy-washy, obviously you don't want to press too hard on the cold call. You're not in a discovery phase. But that being said, I would have been so which one is it? Is it really the skills of the BDR or is it your connect rates? And she would have been a combination of both. Okay, perfect. Let's go over that. I have some homework that I'm going to send you of exactly how we solve both of these problems a day before a meeting. I need you to go through that before we meet. And I can actually text this number. Is this your cell phone? Yeah, this is my cell phone. Okay, great. I'm going to text you these right now. And honestly, it's one of those things where if we meet and you don't go through these, I'm just going to go off camera and have you go through them before we meet so you have the best context so I can save you time. This is all about saving you time, knowing that we're already pushing off one-on-ones to actually get in front of meetings like this. I know this is a priority for you. Does that sound fair? Okay, great. Perfect. Accept the invite. Make sure you go through the homework. I'll see you on this date. Hey, by the way, do me one last favor. If for some reason you change your mind or you can't actually show up to the meeting, please let me know. The worst thing you know in sales is when your prospects get ghosted or ghost your SDRs. It's the same thing here. I want to respect your time, but you also got to respect mine. So would love to go over that with you. Does that sound like a good idea? Perfect. Great. I'm going to do this prep for you. If you can do that for me, I'll see you soon. Perfect. Bye. So overall, this wasn't bad. This lady was really nice. It was good timing. When it comes to tech, because this is a tech product, timing is truly everything. But that being said, the biggest things that I thought were positive overall was that his tonality was good. I think he added in some little laughs. You know, he didn't sound overly eager. I would say that if he asked more pointed questions in the beginning, he would have saved probably 4 minutes on his call. The other thing is, I'm wondering if this person actually showed up. You didn't get a problem to actually solve until after the meeting was booked. So he didn't actually close the loop here and be like, hey, by the way, I'm glad you said that. This is actually where I think we can come in to like add a little more value so that when they do show up, they have something to do. There was no mutual agreement. There was no homework to do. So this person doesn't feel obligated to return anything. There's a lot of stuff that could be solved here. But overall, I would give this call probably like a 6 out of 10. Because he did ask an engagement question. He made sure that it was relevant. He assumed the name. He introduced himself. He had a pretty decent opener, used neutral language, and offered some sort of value for the meeting, locked in the email, locked in the time, and provided some specific time. So overall, like I would say 6 out of 10, but definitely some room for improvement here.